What's up, everybody? Superworks fan here from Mustang with update number 30 on this Friday. So, what's new with the Mustang? Well, I am like 40 miles away from hitting 16,000 miles, but the real exciting news is I got a little surprise this week and got some good news from one of my favorite aftermarket companies, and was able to work out a partnership with them. And so it'll be an ongoing thing, but the first the first modification from them will be coming in the mail here very soon, hopefully within the next week. I'll have it on the car, and it'll make a big difference. And I don't want to say any specifics until I actually have it and everything's good, but it's gonna make a big difference, and I'm really excited about it. And so I think you guys are really gonna be excited about it as well. And yeah, so that's a nice little surprise, because I know so many of you have been so anxious to see modifications, and so have I. But because of course, all the stuff going on with getting married this summer, getting a house, and all this stuff, I have zero money for mods for the next couple of months. So I was glad that I was able to work out a deal with this company, and it's awesome to be able to work with this company as well. You'll see once I do the announcement of what it is, but and they're, just like I said, they're one of my favorite aftermarket companies. Exciting stuff ahead for this Mustang here. It's gonna get a whole lot sweeter, I think. So yeah, that's very exciting. But that's it as far as all the updates go on it. So otherwise, the rattle by the back of the passenger rear window has come back a little bit, but all the other rattles aren't present in the past week here, so good with that. So pretty much rattle free, and everything's good. So yeah, I'll send back to me at the news desk for this week's news. Right, for this week's news, the first thing is a patent filing that has caused the rumor mills to go crazy with all kinds of speculation, and that is that Toyota filed for a patent for the trademark for the SFR name. So, as you know, that is FRS, just with the S put in the front instead of the back. And so, I don't know, everyone's really just throwing all kinds of wild rumors out there as far as what it means, if it means anything at all. I mean, there's patents filed for names that never get used, but SFR, everyone is thinking this is what they're going to call the new Supra, which has Supra fans obviously upset because you want to revive the Supra name that's so epic. And I think hopefully Toyota has the good sense to keep the Supra name. I think it would be really stupid if they just gave it an alphabet soup name, but that is one of the theories, is that it's just the new Supra, because obviously S is sport, FR is front engine rear wheel drive, so it could be there, or Super FR, you know, kind of just to give it a supercar name, but it's too similar to FRS. Some people have said that this is also a baby FRS. That's what the SFR is going to stand for, and that it's going to slot beneath the FRS. But considering how slow FRS sales are currently, and the fact that we haven't seen any kind of development mules or anything around, makes me think that's probably not going to happen. You know, and I think especially because it was going to be cheaper than the FRS, it's going to be slower than the FRS. And if anything, these cars need more power, not less. So I don't think it's that either. And a few people have said this, and this is what I'm starting to think, is that this SFR, we know that the FRS is going to be getting a refresh next year. Will they change the name of the FRS? If they really want to give it this whole new face, and they're going to give it 10 more horsepower, and they really want to try and rebrand it as a more exciting version of the current car, then maybe they will rename it. I mean, because technically it's the same letters, just rearranged, but it still means the same thing. It's front engine rear drive sport. And so it's so similar to the FRS name that I think it has to be something FRS related. Whether it's a crazy extreme concept, maybe like the BRZ STI, except the Toyota version of that, or if it's for the new refresh, like I said, next year, or if this is for the next generation. I think Subaru already confirmed they're doing a second generation of the BRZ. Whether that second generation means this new facelift that's coming in a year or two, or a whole new car, you know, in 2020 or whenever it arrives, we're not sure. But I think that this is something FRS related. Right, so on to some new car reveals. The first is Aston Martin has made a new version of the Vanquish, and when I say new, I mean it's just the Q division that they have that custom tailors cars for individuals. And anyway, so they have this 1 of 7 version of the Vanquish that they're obviously making 7 of, and it has this smooth carbon finish on the whole car, in addition to, you know, black quilted seats and things like that. And it was commissioned by an owner that wanted one of these, and they're making 6 more for other enthusiasts that want them. Those are probably already pre-sold. But it looks cool, obviously, all blacked out, and obviously it still is the gorgeous Vanquish we all know and love. For some crazy car news, there's this new Ariel Atom kind of thing called the Quantum GP700. It's made in Australia, and as you may have guessed from the numbers, it has 700 horsepower. If you thought the Ariel Atom V8 was crazy, 700 horsepower. And the way that they're making 700 horsepower sounds even crazier. They're getting 700 horsepower from a 2.7 liter 4-cylinder with twin superchargers, which, and it does 482 pounds-feet of torque as well. Has a 6-speed sequential gearbox, but a 2.7 liter 4-cylinder with 2 superchargers making 700 horsepower. That sounds tough to do, but that's what they're claiming here. They're saying it's got a 0 to 60 time of 2.6 seconds, and it's probably just because it's limited by the tires, because this thing has the same power to weight ratio as the Koenigsegg Agera 1:1. So it's fast. It's stupid fast. And so, I mean, they're saying that it'll do, 2.5 Gs in cornering. They said even at low speeds, it'll still do like 1.5 to 2 Gs just in low corners. It has 2 Gs of deaccelerative force. So when you slam on the brakes, the G-forces, they said, are even more than a jet landing on an aircraft carrier with a tow hook. I'm sure many of you have seen those crazy videos on YouTube. And it's more extreme than that. So that is impressive. And the best thing about it is that these are going to be legal on the street. So they're legalized right now in Australia, and they said the Australian restrictions are even more than the United States in some areas. So they said that they're pretty confident this will be street legal in the States. It's going to be obviously an extremely limited production, so this is going to be on a one-off kind of basis. If someone says, hey, I want this, I want to have it street legal here, then they'll say, okay, we'll go through the process of doing it for you. So hopefully it will be street legal, but that's crazy. So yeah, excited to see some videos of one of those things run around. That's insane. Speaking of insane cars, Hennessey, as you know, makes many insane cars, and they've been tweaking the new Ford Mustang. They have a supercharged Mustang GT that has just hit 207.9 miles per hour, GPS verified. It's that fast. And so, of course, to get to that point, they had one that had 717 horsepower, but they needed to up it a little bit more. So to get that 207.9 mile per hour mark, they actually upped the horsepower to 774 horsepower and 648 pounds-feet of torque. And so it's called the HPE 750. And it's pretty insane. So they have a video to go along with it here, and that's impressive to say the least. Other Mustang news is that Ford officially debuted how much horsepower the GT350 Shelby is going to have. It's going to have 526 horsepower and 429 pounds-feet of torque, which is, obviously we just talked about the Hennessey. This looks a little bit lower, but that's really great performance considering it's going to be starting at less than $50,000. That's still, I mean, less than 50 grand, and you get 526 horsepower, and it's the motor, which revs to 8,200 RPMs or whatever. It's crazy. I mean, looking at the dyno charts, it looks like this is definitely going to be a rever. It doesn't make peak horsepower until, I think, 8,000 RPM, so it's going to be one of those engines you've got to rev out. 429 pounds-feet of torque isn't a whole lot more than a regular GT either, so it's not a torque monster. It's just all top-end horsepower there, which is going to make it really fun to drive, I think. And, of course, it sounds amazing. So that's very cool to see. And some news from Jeep and Ram and Dodge and all that good stuff. So, there was a 5-year plan they released last year that said all the cars they're going to be coming out with over the next 5 years. And like happens a lot of times, this is why most car companies don't publicize their 5-year plans, but the fact that Fiat Chrysler did is cool, but now they're saying that they're going to have to change some things up. And I mean, Jeep is at an all-time sales high right now. I mean, the car industry in general is at an all-time high right now, but it's just really, Jeep is just booming. So it's kind of interesting to hear that what this report is saying is that the Dodge Ram and the Jeep redesigns are on hold for now. They said that they probably won't come until 2017 is when we'll see the redesigns for the Wrangler, the Dodge Ram. They said there's going to be some engineering changes, some direction changes and things that need extra time. So they're pushing those back. And they said other things that are going to get pushed back are the new Jeep Grand Wagoneer thing that they were planning, which was their large 3-row SUV, and they said that also they were planning new versions of the Chrysler 300, Dodge Charger, and an all-new version of the new Challenger, and those are probably going to be a few years away anyway, which I think is fine because I think the restylings did really well, and there's no need for a totally new car for several years anyway. So that definitely makes sense here. The exciting thing is that apparently, according to this report, they're going full throttle towards pushing Alfa Romeo, and they're going to have even more Alfa Romeo models than they originally planned on having, they said, and that's going to be their priority, which I think is a very cool idea. Hopefully it all works out, so it's a risky thing though, because with Jeep doing so well, I mean, you don't want to mess with the success of the current models, but then again, you don't want them to get too stale. So this is a big risk to be pushing Alfa Romeo this hard and making that the priority, but that is what is reportedly going on. And I mean, hey, but more Alphas, the better. I'm very excited for that. One Fiat Chrysler product that will never see actual production, but was just revealed this week, is the SRT Tomahawk Vision Gran Turismo, which, as you know, is a virtual car they've made for the Gran Turismo video game. And because what they're saying is this is basically a concept that they're thinking is, you know, what will be possible maybe in 20 years' time. And so because of that, it's pretty insane. It has a 7-liter V10 engine, much like a Viper, but here's where it gets crazy. The whole setup of the car is insane. So it's a hybrid gasoline pneumatic powertrain. The pneumatic stands for air, obviously, and so it has a nearly flat, wide-angle V10 engine. Then that drives the rear wheels. The front wheels are driven by air propulsion. Not sure how that works, but it works obviously in virtual reality here. And so the total horsepower amount for this car, 2,590 horsepower. So, pretty insane, of course, and once again, a virtual car. There's different versions of it here. There's the S with 700 horsepower, it's more relaxed. There's the GTS-R, which is the middle one, and then the full-blown X, which is the crazy one. And so it'd be very fun to play in the video game, I'm sure, but again, just a video game car. Sadly, I'm pretty sure that's next to impossible to make, at least with current technology, but very cool to see that, and it's just cool to, you know, see the designers dreaming and imagining what might be possible. So, for some more realistic news, BMW has 2 reveals here, and the first one isn't quite, it's going to be revealed June 10th, so coming up in a few days here, and that's the next generation BMW 7 Series, which they've been teasing with videos and stuff, and we've seen the spy shots of it driving around. They said it's going to have all kinds of new technology and things that, you know, obviously they've been talking about, and I've been talking about in the updates here. There's going to be 3-dimensional gesture controls by waving your hands in the air and all kinds of cool things. So, but we don't want to speculate too much. We'll just wait. June 10th is just coming up very soon here next week, and we'll have all the information about that then. And so exciting to see that. One thing that was officially revealed this week was the 2016 BMW X1, which has been redone and looks more like an SUV than the wagon that it's replacing. And it's, you know, it was supposed to be a baby X3 basically, and with this subcompact crossover segment being so hot, of course, BMW's pushing this pretty hard, I'm sure. And so, I mean, it looks cool, you know, it looks good, I would say, and they're only offering it in the United States in xDrive 2.8i spec, which is the 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder that has 228 horsepower and 258 pounds-feet of torque, and it has an 8-speed automatic transmission. They haven't said what the pricing is going to be. I'm guessing close to the current X1 pricing, but it might be a little bit more, considering you're probably getting a whole lot more car here. But yeah, that's all we have as far as details. It looks good though from the pictures, and exciting to hear more about that. Next is some news I didn't expect hearing, and that is that Hyundai is making a Prius rival. And so you can't really see a whole lot of it here with all the camouflage on, except that probably is also going to be a hatchback. Looks kind of like a dart in the front from what I can see, but yeah, it's an interesting looking little thing here, and didn't know that the Prius market was still so hot, but I guess that's what Hyundai's going after. It's going to be a dedicated car that's just a hybrid, of course, and it's not going to be sharing any kind of mechanicals with any of the other Hyundais, I think. It's going to be a very hybrid electric-focused car, so that's interesting to see. And another interesting thing to see is that there's a facelifted Fiat 500 running around that was spy testing here, and it looks very similar to the current car, of course, you know, but it's a little less rounded, I think, and a little more modernized, I guess you could say. Obviously lots of camo, so we can't see too much,
But they said it's going to be debuting at the Frankfurt Motor Show, so we'll see more of it then. The last bit of news is that, as many of you know, Jaguar is making an SUV called the F-Pace, and it's going to be like a mid-size SUV, I guess, or a regular full-size SUV. And anyway, they said that they're planning on following it up with a J-Pace, and the J-Pace is obviously going to kind of be resembling the XJ in length and size and luxury, which is of course the top dog there at Jaguar. And so they're doing a J-Pace apparently. It's going to be obviously very large, and it's probably going to try and compete with the higher end, you know, Bentley SUVs coming out, stuff like that. But the interesting thing is, with this, they're saying that it's actually going to be based on the Range Rover platform, because, you know, Jaguar and Land Rover are owned by the same people, share some mechanicals, of course, and so they're saying that that's going to ride on the current Land Rover Range Rover platform, which is interesting, and I think it's a very good basis, though, and should make for a great SUV for Jaguar. So that's it for all the news this week, guys, so send it back to me in the car.
Alright, so I'll leave you guys with a nice little acceleration here, like I always do. We'll do a second gear roll this time for a little variety. Oh man, this thing pulls hard. Stock power levels are just so good, just from the factory. Such a good car. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next week. Take care.